My name is Miguel Flores. I am an artist from New Jersey, and I work with oil paint, acrylics, and collage style mixed media. My background as an artist, I've been painting and drawing pretty much my entire life. But I think, especially as I leaned over into adulthood, it's something that was always a part of my life, but not a major part of it until about 4, 5, 6 years ago. Funny enough, I was always painting, I was always drawing and stuff like that, but it wasn't something that I was really pushing until I was just deep in adulthood in offices or even in grad school. I always found myself just making little sketches or drawings or things to just de-stress myself in little meetings or stuff like that. And somewhere in that morning rush of these really annoying meetings or these really weird happenings of life, or just thinking about your life as one does when they're at work or anything like that. I started looking at some the sketches I was doing, and I was like, oh wait, I actually kind of want to make this bigger. I actually kind of develop this. And I just kind of fell into it more and more and just started, trying new different mediums and all this other stuff. What inspires my work is, I think, the connection between people, and just, I don't know, just this sense of, I feel there's people make this almost especially in Western thought, we make this separation between material reality or spiritual reality, and there's almost a divide. And I don't know, I draw a lot of figures, I draw a lot of portraits, but mostly I would say the meaning of my work comes in my abstract figure work. And I think what I'm really trying to capture there is just this sense of presence that a person has, or in the middle of all these other day-to-day things. So that's kind of why I like to use the collage, because you can put elements these symbols, or these really hokey things the same bird over and over again over many works, or just this the mandala flowers that have been so commercialized and stuff like that. I like to kind of tear it apart and make different patterns from them. So it gives this sense of familiarity. Sometimes people go looking at something I make, oh yeah, it's that thing, right? And they pointing at these little things that have been kind of and I don't know, I just think that people kind of make their presence from all these other little, very happenstance, real things, as opposed to the separation between what we think and what this. It's we are, our entire presence is made from these physical things as well. What brought me over to Fusion was, I felt I really had kind of been waiting to take my first steps as an artist. I hadn't really been, I've been my basement is full of paintings at this point. It's overflowing, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And it's just getting to the point where I'm I think I should be working towards actually getting my foot in the art world, or just sharing stuff around. And I just been struggling to take that step, mostly because of time, I guess. And I guess Fusion, when I was looking at it and seeing all the artists coming in, it just kind of felt like a good introduction where I could get feedback from a lot of different people, or just this ability to come to this space and then just think about really what I'm trying to do in terms of art. And I think for me, particularly, I don't know, I had a couple people say oh, it's a dream come true. And in some ways it is, but in another sense, it's never really been my dream to be an artist full time, so to say. Even now, I think I would really like this to be half of my life, and I want the other half of my life to be my job, that I'm, stuff that I work with. And I don't know, I think there's this push that I kind of want to work when I'm seeing a lot of people. It's just this idea that art is something that should be part of everyone's life, and it's something that we should be not just drawing a picture, but actually thinking about and engaging with, and just seeing what comes from it, and learning about ourselves through it. And I think Fusion has just been a perfect space for it in so many ways. Just taking the time, getting to see this beautiful nation, and coming at it from the angle that everything new that we're looking at could be something that is focused on art, and not think about what art means to you and how it will fit into your life. So the pieces I've been working on during this residency, the first is, we're here at this onsen, and there's just been a lot of traditional umbrellas with all these decorative arts, and it turns out these are handmade works with a frame like an artisan that just basically puts them together, stick by stick, like they're not mass produced, they're handmade. And I was thinking about just like this connection between like this traditional art form and how it's coming into Japan. And in general, Japan is this nation that's known for being very high tech and also very traditional. And I think really like the juxtaposition between these two is really where so many of the colorful things about this nation really come from. And so one of the works I'm doing is just figures looking out, we're holding the traditional umbrella, looking out into like a sky, basically. And, I use like the teal color, which really kind of makes it look a little bit like cyberpunk or like future looking. And at the same time, for the first two, the figures just kind of the figures are hidden by the umbrella, and in the third work of that, it's actually a black woman that's holding the umbrella. And I think that last part comes from just talking with a couple of the artists here, and I've talked to Black friends at home about traveling, and it just breaks my heart when some of them tell me that they go to a place and they don't feel like they belong there, or they were invited, or they had a bad experience there. I'll never go there, so as someone who actually travel a lot. And I was thinking about when I come here, there's a lot of Black artists that we're working with here, and they are all, as far as I know, they've been loving it. They've all felt very welcome, and a couple of them are thinking about a long-term future here in Japan. And as I was making this work, I was thinking about this is a potential future for Japan as well, for like these communities to grow and thrive in. And it was just something that I kind of wanted to capture a little bit as well. And then for the next piece I'm looking at is these two long kind of like scroll-like paintings that have like a gradient from like a sunset colors down to like these dusk colors, and the other one from like a dusk morning colors to like a sunrise colors. And at the bottom of both pieces is just a scene from a train, and then on top is just scenes from like city life or just rural urban life and stuff like that, and then building up to like nature, and then some of the some renditions of some of the Buddha statues that we saw in our shrines here in Kaga. And I think to me, just a lot of the conversations I've been having with artists here revolves around like just how walkable, or just how like easy to get around it is in here, or just like how much of the public transportation system and all that has been a part of this. And I think this connects back to, like I said, what I like think about in my work was just this idea that we have like the spiritual side of like these big ideas of like what we are, what we want in life, and at the same time these are always intrinsically connected to the material world, or like how we set up our social systems and how we choose to interact with each other, and what a nation chooses to value. So I think about the United States and having a public transportation system, and it's just like, what are we doing when we're not allowing people to flow together, when we're not allowing them to be part of this, when we're not allowing this flow of people and ideas and perspectives. And really, when I think about it, I guess that's also kind of what Fusion is. It's just adding another flow of people into this station and allowing, some of those ideas to flow back. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. Just having the space to kind of sit with art and just think about art with other artists in this. I know the group has been great. And unfortunately, I've talked to some artists, like George, who was telling me, "Oh, not all art residencies are like this." And I was like deflated. I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, this is not just what they're all like. They're not." So I've been like, as soon as I heard that, I was like trying to like really like soak it in and appreciate how special this opportunity is, how special this space is. And I think just there was a moment I was talking to someone, we talked about how like really this is just like an intersection of so many different journeys. Like everybody here has like something that they're on, either they're stuck on, or they just want to take a new step, or they're just thinking about, or they're just being open to something new to happen in front of them. And it's just like these, all these energies are intermixing, and then we're having these conversations. I think it really helps, push our art together. Forward. There's specific moments, I think, I don't know, like I said, just staying up, working late, having people come in and out of the workshop, or just talking with people about that. about work or just like, like struggles or stuff that we're thinking about, I just kind of changed a little bit about how I think about what art making could be. As somebody who's just been in his basement churning out paintings for no reason for so many years now, it just feels like, oh, right, like this is a whole world and there's so much that I still have to get a grasp on and understand. And at the same time, it's also very exciting, and it's just, it really feels like everyone here has opened up so many worlds and possibilities for me just by virtue of conversation or sharing their time and experience. I would say that in terms of how being around other artists like this has influenced my work, I kind of knew it would happen because I don't know, I always describe myself as a core of 10% of myself that is very rigid and unmovable, and 90% of me is very flexible. And that just comes from me coming from a very stubborn family and learning how to like mediate with that and stuff like that. So kind of I always approach with life with like allowing myself to listen to people and be influenced or just like really get caught up in their world as well. So I always so for something like this, I knew like, oh, I'm going to be surrounded by artists. Like I'm definitely like going to be learning things or just like, just trying to grasp how they're looking at the world and art. But of course, there's still ups. Yeah. So being surrounded by other artists has, definitely influenced how I approach my work. I think, I'm somebody who is very open to being influenced by different perspectives and just listening to people and trying to get a grasp for their world. And I think I kind of always expected that would happen because of that. Like I always draw influence for everything. I feel like that's kind of why the collage style comes about. Like just this idea that I could like look at something and be like, this is part of my work now. Like, I just literally grab this, cut it up, and place it here. That's kind of the idea where it comes from. We're making prints about it and stuff like that, and just like, oh, if I like this thing, I can reproduce it 100 times, and then look at it and put it in my painting in different ways. What I didn't expect was how open people would be up to let others into their inner world of how they create and what they're thinking about. And I think that really just made everything so much deeper and in so many ways, like just being able to talk with someone or just see like their method of work. Like, like there's people who are just kind of like chilling, hanging out, but they're really just thinking about it. And then just almost like they're saving up energy for when they're actually going to be working. And there's people who from day one, as soon as we open up the workspace, like just sat down and were like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to hack at it like a shift, like clock in, clock out. And I think for me particularly, it was so good for me because I'm very good at, like, so there's someone. Yeah. It's funny because pretty much are not. Yeah. For me, it was just so great being able to just sit in the workspace and seeing all these different methods of working or styles of working in it or coming into the space. And, like the people who were just kind of pacing around, trying to start a piece, but really just doing so much, back work on trying things or, that are really trying to be super intentional of what they're making versus others that are kind of just, jumping into it and seeing what comes of it. And I think, I don't know, I think anytime the process always shows in the work. And I think, I don't know, I think for me, it's just been easy to kind of like reflect that as people come in. It's like, oh, you're like kind of sitting there working. I think, there was actually a time where Brian was working on his own stuff, and I think the way I asked him, like, oh, like, how long were you here for? And then he was like, until I'm done. And I was like, wow, that was so cool. Like, I didn't think he was even intending it to be that. And I was sitting there, and I stayed up late that night, and I was like thinking to myself, how long should I stay here? And I'm like, until I'm done, like until I finish what I set out to do today. And I did, and I think that's kind of like the little moments that have happened so many times in the workspace. It's just somebody says something or engages something in a certain way, and I think, yeah, like I should, like that's a way I can engage with this work. And that's how, and like I said, the process always, the final work always reflects the process as well, What I hope viewers take away from my art that I made in this residency, I don't know, it sounds kind of corny, but the fusion aspect of it, just this idea of, I'm coming here. Yeah, the fusion aspect of it, as corny as it may sound, just this idea that I'm not from here, but I've taken the time to sit with what this place means to me, and I've connected it to kind of like how I see the world, or what I've been thinking about at home, basically, and just seeing so many I don't know, just different angles of things that I was already thinking about. But really, I hope that on a personal level, they see some themselves, and if you're talking about the locals here in Kaga, like I hope they're able to pick out that the Buddhas on top of my scroll pieces are the ones from the shrine, or the mountains are the mountains you can see from this part of Kaga. And, not just because they'll be able to say, oh, look, there's the mountains, but also to think about, I don't know, I feel like, I guess that's just kind of how I work. Like when I look at what someone's made, I always think of it and how does that like reflect back to me? Like it's so cool to like filter thoughts through other people's eyes and perspectives. I feel like you can get so much from that. And it's almost like giving back in that sense. It's like, I filtered your world through my eyes. Like, what do you see your world as now? Does that change anything about it? And, even if it doesn't, at least does the picture look cool enough?